Hello, dear tenants. My name is Guðmundur Hrafn, and I am currently the president of the Icelandic Tenant Union. I feel the need to address you, those of you, many thousands of you that are living on the Icelandic rental market and do not speak Icelandic. There are currently around 20,000 individuals and families living on the Icelandic rental market that have come here to moved here to Iceland to have prosperity in their lives and hoping for a good future. Icelandic rental market is a no good place to be, as most of you already know. Since 2015, the prices have been increasing in rate on a very rapid scale. In around 2013 to 2017, thousands of apartments were handed over to several big rental companies that ever since have been leading the increase of the housing rent here in Iceland. The investors, they control the supply and the demand. Many times the owners of the rental market, their rental units, are investors that already have interest in the development of housing. And when the rental market is in that situation as it is now, where there is increasing profit on the rental market, the developers, the builders, they control the supply, creating ever-lasting shortage. And because of the strength of the investors, the municipalities, obviously, they have become in the pockets. They're in the pockets of the investors. We see here on the screen the pictures of the investors. We can see on the diagrams how the rental prices have gone up, and on the lower left side you can see the supplies of housing. That usually the supply was several percent above the need. Now for several years it has been under the need, and it's had created a shortage of roughly around 5,000 to 8,000 home units on the property market. Icelandic municipalities have one of the lowest numbers, as you can see here, the lowest number of socially run housing system known to the current living humankind. It is in Iceland less than 4%. Less than 4% of the Icelandic general housing market is socially run rental apartments. There are, of course, rental units for special needs and the students, but for the general housing market, it's less than 4%. The worst case scenario the worst case in France, for example, on the French Riviera, the social housing stock is 8%. So where the situation is the worst in the richest part of France, is still 100% better than the capital of Iceland. It's a disgrace. And also, the non-profit housing market means something completely different here in Iceland than you might think it does. When non-profit housing companies are established and they are advertised, the non-profit concept usually means that the only criteria is that they cannot pay out the dividends like a general shareholding company. But they can do that through other filials or other side companies they have, and this is what they've been doing. They've been creating increasing profit on the rental market, but getting rid of the profit through companies that they own themselves. Icelandic regulation clearly states the obligation of municipalities to provide affordable housing. It's mentioned in the role of municipalities law, it's mentioned in the housing law, and it's also referenced in the tenancy law. So There's no question about it. It is also in the Human Rights Pact that is legalized here, that the municipalities have to, and there's a legal obligation to provide the citizens with affordable houses, and they are not doing that. And that is probably a matter they have to deal with in the near future. And they also have municipalities also have the responsibility to monitor the rental market. We can see here pictures of the development, how in fact it's slowly, and if we just move a little bit further, you can see here, which is probably the most important slide that I will show you tonight, is that the housing stock of the Icelandic housing market have been under a great swift in the last 15 years, where 63% of all housing that has been added to the housing stock of Iceland since 2005 has ended up in the ownership of companies and capital owners. This is a great shift in the ownership, and it has been following the trends on the rental market. It says in the paragraph 37 on the National Tenancy Law that the rental prices should be fair and just for both parties. There have been also numerous proposals for the correction of this outdated tenancy law, which does not protect tenants at all. There is this very important legislation, the paragraph 37, where it stated that the rental price have to be just and fair. What does that mean? It has to be fair and just for both parties. That means it has to take into account the cost of the landlord to run his rental unit. It does not. It's the landlord itself. It chooses and controls the rental price itself. And it's the rental companies, the big rental companies, that in the years between 2010 and 2017 were handed thousands and thousands of apartments from the government on fractions of the market price, which now are leading the ever-increasing rates on the rental market. Pricing on the Icelandic rental market is completely one-sided and, like I said, only in the favor of the landlords. We can see here how the supply is decreasing, ever increasing, and how the prices are ever increasing. To have a natural fair price developing on a rental market, like it's happening in most other European countries, we need following criteria. There needs to be a huge part of the rental units owned by a patient capital, such as municipalities, pension funds, capital that is ready to provide houses on a non-profit basis, on a real, true non-profit basis. That means it has to be a share of above 15-20%. Like in many European countries, the share is between 15, 20, and up to 60%. Here in Iceland, we have 4%. So there's no ground for a naturally fair price development. And therefore, we need to have rent control. And I am advocating for rent control in this message, because this is what is completely necessary and vital for tenants on the Icelandic rental market, is to have rent control, which is applied in most other European countries, or where it's not, there is a sufficient social housing stock, which is not here. So we have all the criteria to apply a strict rent control. And this is a vital thing for Icelandic tenants. Since 2005, the chances for you, dear tenant, or any other person in Iceland outside the ownership of Icelandic housing market have dropped by 71% to be able to buy your own apartment. This is following the appearance of the big rental companies, the shift in the ownership of the Icelandic housing market, and the control of the supply and the rental prices on the Icelandic rental market. So the housing shortage and the huge price leaps and massive profit generated on the rental market is the key element that we need to address and we need to control. There is also no functioning protection of tenants. Icelandic tenants have experienced more than 100% increase in rental prices in the last decade, while the average rent increase in Europe is 15.3%. 40% of the tenant, like we saw in the earlier slide, still under 29 years old, still live with their parents. In other Nordic countries, the level is between 13 and 17%. Icelandic tenants are stuck on the rental market. We can see here on the slides the questions are asked whether Icelandic tenants want to be on the rental market, and only 10% of them want to be on the rental market. The rental market in Iceland is not a good place to be. It is a place where there is quite a lot of suffering and bad living conditions. This is what many of you know already. Only 15% of the tenants believe that they will manage to get free from that landlord slavery that they experience. Only 15%, and only 10% of tenants want to be on the rental market. So there's something really wrong that we need to address. Being a tenant in Iceland, because of poverty, tenants in Iceland are being drained for their time, for their dreams and hopes, only to create profit for the investors. Now, the Icelandic Tenant Union is advocating for rent control, rent cap. And this we have been doing in the last few months by writing articles, meeting with the policymakers, having meetings, addressing the public, and this is what I want you to be a part of. The Icelandic Tenant Union have been growing their community by 1,300 people since January. So there's a massive growth. The wave is rising, and I want all of you to be a part of that, to be a part of the massive change in the Icelandic rental market. The Icelandic Tenant Union have built a rental calculator, which is very common throughout Europe. And it's on our website, which I will show you right now when I end this message. The Icelandic Tenant Union have had the help of economists and people with great experience to build a rental calculator, and I encourage you to find the calculator on our website and type in the criteria and find out what's your true rental price and see how much money you can save by accepting the price and the authority of the rental calculator, which is also supported by a previous reference price used by the government in the period between 2010 and 2017. Using that price and the economic parameters, we figure out the correct rental price for the Icelandic tenant market. By using and legalizing the rental calculator, we will reduce rent by 35% on average. And it will become the greatest financial benefit for Icelandic households since the foundation of the Republic. Rent price will be put back to the levels between 2013 and 15, indexed by inflation. So we have two really good ways to find out the correct, fair price, and this is what we are doing, and this is what we are demanding the government to legalize. The public authorities and the resolution committees from the bankrupt banks back in years after the economic crisis, they were using these rental reference prices. And we will do the same. And we have also generated many proper parameters to calculate the fair rental prices from an economic standpoint as well. The tenant union demands justice for tenants, that rental price increase stop immediately and the rent goes down by 35%. All parameters that we can find support that just demand. Please, dear tenants, join the tenant union. You can find the website here on the screen. You can register, it's free and will be free. You can find out your real rental price on our calculator. Join the campaign. Meet us on Saturday in front of the Parliament for the big demonstration where the tenants will take a stand against the corruption and refusing to pay for another economic crisis in the Icelandic economy. With these words, I greet you, dear tenant, and I hope to meet you on Saturday in the center. Have a good day.